You've probably been told at some point in your life to speak up more, to come out of your shell, to be more social. Maybe it was a teacher, a parent, a colleague who said you seemed distant. But what if the quiet wasn't a flaw? What if it was always a feature? Let's start with what introversion actually is, because most people get this wrong. Introversion is not shyness. It's not social anxiety. It's not a fear of people. It's about energy. Extroverts gain energy from social interaction. The more people, the more stimulated, the more alive they feel. Introverts are the opposite. Social interaction costs energy, and solitude restores it. Think of it like a battery. An introvert's battery drains in a crowd and recharges in quiet. That's it. That's the whole thing. Psychologist Hans Eysenck, one of the first scientists to study this rigorously, found that introverts have a naturally higher baseline of cortical arousal, meaning their brains are already more stimulated at rest. They don't need as much external input to feel alert. In fact, too much input becomes overwhelming. This isn't a personality quirk, it's neuroscience. The concept of introversion isn't new, but the word is. Ancient philosophers recognized the difference between those who turned inward and those who sought the world outside. Aristotle wrote about the value of solitude. Seneca the Stoic argued that one must retreat into oneself to find clarity. But it wasn't until the early 20th century that introversion became a formal psychological concept. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist, gave us the words we still use today. In his 1921 work, Psychological Types, Jung described two fundamental orientations of the human psyche: introversion and extroversion. For Jung, introverts were oriented inward, toward their own thoughts, feelings, and imagination. Extroverts were oriented outward, toward people, activity, and the external world. Jung himself was an introvert. He built a stone tower on the shore of Lake Zurich, with no electricity, no telephone, where he retreated to think, write, and simply be. But here's where history takes a turn. As the 20th century progressed, Western culture, especially American culture, began to celebrate extroversion. The ideal worker became someone bold, gregarious, and loud. Schools rewarded participation. Offices adopted open floor plans. Leadership became synonymous with charisma. Susan Cain, in her landmark 2012 book Quiet, called this the extrovert ideal, and documented how profoundly it had reshaped how we educate, work, and value each other. Introverts weren't just misunderstood, they were actively penalized for being who they were. So, how do you know if you're an introvert? It's not about whether you enjoy people. Many introverts love deep conversation, close friendships, and meaningful connection. It's about the pattern of your energy. Here are some of the most common signs. 1. You find small talk exhausting, but deep conversation energizing. You're not antisocial, you're selectively social. You'd rather have one meaningful conversation than an hour of surface-level chit-chat. 2. You need time alone to feel like yourself again. After a long day with people, even people you love, you crave silence. Not because something is wrong, because you're recharging. 3. You think before you speak. Introverts tend to process internally. You might pause before answering, rehearse conversations in your head, or prefer writing to speaking. 4. You work better alone than in groups. Open offices and constant meetings feel like friction to you. You do your best thinking in uninterrupted solitude. 5. You're observant. Introverts tend to notice things others miss. The shift in someone's tone, the tension in a room, the detail in a painting. You process deeply. 6. You feel drained after socializing, even when you enjoyed it. This is the key one. You can have a wonderful time at a party and still come home completely depleted. That's the introvert experience. If several of these feel true, you're probably an introvert, and that's not a problem to solve. Now, let's talk about intelligence. We should be careful here. Introversion doesn't automatically mean higher IQ. Extroverts are just as capable of brilliance. But there are patterns worth understanding. Research consistently shows that introverts tend to be more reflective, more careful in their thinking, and more resistant to groupthink. A 2006 study by psychologist Lori Helgo found that introverts are overrepresented among the highly gifted. Why might this be? Because the introvert brain is wired for depth. Where an extrovert might take in information quickly and move on, an introvert tends to sit with it, turning it over, examining it from different angles, connecting it to things they already know. This slower, more deliberate processing is associated with deeper learning and more nuanced thinking. There's also the matter of focus. Introverts are less susceptible to distraction. They can sustain attention on a single problem for long periods. In a world of constant noise and notification, that is a profound advantage. And then there's the introvert's relationship with ideas themselves. Introverts tend to find the inner world of concepts, imagination, and abstraction genuinely more interesting than the outer world of social performance. This orientation, sustained over years, naturally produces depth of knowledge. Some of the most transformative minds in history were introverts. Isaac Newton, Abraham Lincoln, Rosa Parks, Warren Buffett, J.K. Rowling, Barack Obama, Elon Musk. Not because introversion makes you a genius, but because the qualities introverts naturally cultivate, patience, depth, focus, reflection, are the same qualities that produce exceptional work. So, what does this mean for how you live? First, know yourself. Understand your energy patterns. Don't overschedule. Build recovery time into your life like you'd build sleep into your life. It's not optional. It's biology. Second, stop apologizing. You don't owe anyone an explanation for needing quiet. You don't need to justify declining the after-work drinks or asking for a private office. Your needs are legitimate. Third, find your environments. Introverts often thrive in roles and spaces that allow deep work, independent thought, and meaningful one-on-one connection. Seek those out. Build them where you can. Fourth, play to your strengths. The world needs the introvert's gifts: careful listening, deep thinking, the ability to sit with complexity. Don't flatten yourself to fit a louder mold. And finally, if you love an introvert, give them space. Not because they don't love you, but because space is how they love you back. The quiet ones have always been here, in the library while others were at the party, in the workshop while others were on the stage, in the margins of history until you look closely and find them everywhere. Introversion is not a flaw to be corrected, a shell to be broken, or a loneliness to be cured. It is a different way of being in the world, a deeper channel, a slower burn. And in a world that never stops shouting, maybe the most radical thing you can do is learn to be still. If this resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more videos like this, and take care of yourself, especially if that means being alone for a while.